Growing up, I never had much of a community. I mean, I was raised right for the most part, but not Catholic. And then I got raped in surgery when I was 6 years old, and some people knew about it. We didn't. I had to find out after they tried to kill me when I was 35. So I apologize for my vulgarity. I consider myself more of an ally to the Catholic Church than a member of. And if, in case you hadn't noticed, the gay revolution is trying to co-opt all these words like ally. Oh, gay. Nah. No, it needs to stop. They made a Central African warlord, the last king of Scotland, so they could rape little boys in surgery and call us liars. 40-year crack epidemic full of school shootings. I don't know how many Irish popes there have been. Bishops, yeah. Cardinals? It just seems to me like, first, do no harm, or you're not a doctor in any religion, any country, any time and space in human history. And then there would have been the Olympics for purposes of settling diplomacy. Gandhi's non-aggression is not the same as Swiss neutrality. Global money laundering racket taking over the Vatican. And before you go joining hands in solidarity with the Muslims, you gotta understand, number one, Islam believes our ancestors escaped enslavement by theirs, and we are all born fugitives of a debt that can never be repaid. Number two, those are Muslims too. Why doesn't America just take over the Vatican? We got black people. So I need you to understand, racism disqualifies one as a rational authority because it implies phobia and irrational fear or hatred. But first, do no harm, or it would be irrational not to hate it. Nigeria is 51% Muslim, 25% Christian, and 24% like tribal, traditional, whatever. Like, we just can't find a Mexican priest. I know what you ladies are thinking. Boko Haram, Islam, it's called taqiyya. When you pretend to be your enemy, you submit, you abide the wickedness to garner support, and just in case it isn't wicked enough already, might help it out a little. So yeah, I got kicked out of the Catholic Church by police for calling Nigerian priests Boko Haram and declaring "Bring the Dogs to Church Day" in Spanish. I was actively trying to avoid getting that cop fired. I was also messing with him in case he wanted to talk to me, but they canned him because presumably they think I hate French people, and this is because we gather intelligence and it's compiled overseas and sold back to us. Act like they're granting wishes for little 6-year-old boys by raping them in surgery when they're sleeping, and then blame the kid born that way. Made a wish. I didn't know I got wish. Somebody stole my wish. So if I came out kind of weird, it's because while the other kids were learning their first year of football, I was learning mythology, anatomy, physiology, crap in my pants. And if it seems like I don't care, it's because I've been writing to the CIA for 8 years. These idiots are ripping off the insurance company, pointing the finger. Collections tries to kill me, and they don't know what it's about. Of course, there's some people that think they're justified, and that the insurance company is just trying to satisfy some kind of obligation. It didn't happen when I was there, and I'm good for it. Insurance company might have to change their name. My name is Noel D. Smith, single, straight, no kids, never married. No abortions, no abominations, no divorces, no bankruptcies. Formerly decorated so-and-so with the yada yada, perhaps you've heard of us. Airframe triage theologies, never forged ink on paper, never perjured myself under oath, never sold cocaine, and never learned how to run a server. The reason I say that is because you're looking for all those things. Airframe triage theologies. Not an insider, don't inside knowledge. Reason I say we're not affiliated is because you're not gonna go penalize the Catholic Church, the Department of State. I can act like I snitched on my gang. Like, I'm not in a gang. And before you try the hard sell with me, news team, the gay revolution started in 1969. That's Vietnam's the communists, and then it to go straight to Roe versus Wade. Okay. Point being, I love the Irish and the Catholics in that order. Not going to go around messing them up, act like I forgave it. Gandhi has a non-aggression pact. So they made a Central African warlord the last king of Scotland, so they could call us liars behind our backs. Washington gets an invoice and they're like, what is this? Zombie apocalypse, pointing the finger at people. We're not affiliated, getting ripped off and passed the buck. Maybe it was that guy. No. It is the year of our Lord 2024 because it wasn't that guy. Priests are not historically the most courageous. We can't all be Templars. You gotta keep an eye out for these guys. Make sure nobody's leaning on them. Once in a while, one of them gets a wild hair up his cassock. There's a procedure for setting them straight. It's not some mystical smoke and mirrors God will smite. I'm just saying, researching. I'm a practical comparative theologist, and I know that the Vatican, well, I've heard that the Vatican employs comparative theologists. A practical comparative theologist explores all the Greek thought around what remains of the ancient classical religions and some arcanum, some apocrypha, if you will. Kids, don't try this at home. You would have chewed your own tongues out by now. But while it's frowned upon for most laymen to explore these dark depths, these profane writings, I did it anyway. I debunked Satanism, so hope that doesn't throw a big wrench in your plans, letting the Vatican get raped by Central African warlords and point the finger. Maybe it was that guy. But yes, I know things that are not covered in the Bible. For instance, the Apostle St. Luke was a biophysician, a doctor with a diploma from the Great Library at Alexandria, and he would have known that, number one, the earth is round, and number two, first, do no harm, or you're not a doctor in any religion. That's canon. Moses said to lie with a man as thou doth with a woman is an abomination, and he goes on, but allow me to extrapolate. Two men can't be married in the eyes of God because God is not going to bless them with new life ex nihilo. It doesn't work. You can't be born that way. You can't be conceived that way. How could you be born that way? What a surprise for the doctor. So, we're not married. We're not affiliated. We owe him nothing that can't be settled in lead, Washington. Stop letting the UN take our gold and pay us back in Muslims. Like we need all this third world help help keep the gay revolution in check. Dangerous. Playing for keeps. 84,000 Boy Scouts. If you're going to say I'm affiliated with them, may as well say I did it myself. Single-handedly. On a more secular note, statute begins when obstruction ends because your obstruction is in furtherance of the original crime. So don't act like it was, green light and then I said something. I got raped in surgery when I was 6 years old and I've been ripping off the Department of State ever since. Something I said after that. Moral of the story, kids. Don't be an enemy of the state. There's never a reason to be an enemy of the church, as long as the state has everything they need to stay out of trouble. Religion, all religion, is a search for universal and eternal truth, and you might say not Catholic, but the Catholic Church is the universal church. I don't know where you got such a bad impression, but I was deprived of a Catholic community growing up, so having felt my way around every major world tradition and a few extinct heresies, some popular cults, I'm confident that Catholicism, pure theoretical Catholicism is the perfect religion. No matter what comes up in the future, everything's there to deal with it. If that's allowed, religion is the search for universal and eternal truth. Science makes the tools of our trade. The government is an experiment. Our experiment. Well, who's got a problem with that? Religion is a search for universal and eternal truth. Unless yours isn't.